Welcome to the Mitch Zone on WPCX 97.1 FM. Here's your host, Mitchell Mercer.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Mitch Zone here on WPCX 97.1 FM, where we cover sports topics throughout the professional leagues and here on Presbyterian College's campus. Today is Monday, August 30th. My name is Mitchell Mercer, and today I will be discussing PC's football season expectations in their upcoming home opener versus St. Andrews Knights, and we will also talk about both the men's and women's soccer teams and see how their seasons are playing out so far. But before I get into those sports topics, I do want to provide a friendly reminder that none of the ideas expressed in this show are ideas of the school or faculty alike. Everything discussed in these shows are in line with Title IX, the current book, and the law. The ideas expressed today are conceived by the students themselves, have no affiliation with any anti-government or xenophobic groups. Now, with that out of the way, I want to welcome you again to the Mitch Zone here on WPCX 97.1 FM here in Clinton, South Carolina. And it's good to see you guys again. I'm sorry there wasn't a show last week. I got caught up with a lot of things going on in my personal life. One of the things since WPCX is an RSO organization on campus, we had something called RSO Fair, which is Registered Student Organization. I've been recruiting a lot. The good news is, I talked to around 30 kids at the RSO Fair. We got around 20 signed up, which is really fantastic, kind of exceeding my expectations, and there's a good possibility we'll get even more coming in the next couple of weeks, which is really nice. And on that note, I've been also covering some high school sports across the Lawrence County region. If you live in Lawrence County, you probably, or check out LawrenceCountySports.com, I did a story on Pendleton versus Clinton, Bulldogs taking on the Red Devils in their season opener, which was really fantastic as well. Really impressed by Clinton, kind of a small school, but I think, they had a really good opener. I think Pendleton's kind of a really bad team, unfortunately, but I was pretty surprised by Clinton. And obviously last weekend, they upset the Lawrence Raiders on the road, which is a big rivalry game in this area. I think 21-19 was the final score, but really big props to the Clinton High School Red Devils. I think it's just a team that continues to run the football really well and get out the quarterback, which I think they have been doing really well. Based on my observation watching the team, I think they can move really far in the high school football playoffs postseason. But other than that, and one thing to point out, I wear my mask. I'm doing the best I can communicate. I'm actually in one of PC's classrooms right now. I'm hoping to get back in the studio sometime really soon. We do have one of the things being a student media is that we have kind of a student media interest meeting coming this Thursday. It's kind of one of the things that's being one of the student medias on campus that we have to involve and get everything organized, since a lot of students are coming in, and I think this is the second week of classes, and one of the things we're having to do is we have an so really the student medias at PC, it's under an umbrella Carpenter Media Network. They're in charge of WPCX, Blue Stocking, Bluetooth, Fix and Thistles, and we're having like a big interest meeting this Thursday, September 2nd at Neville Auditorium. I'm going to talk about a little bit more about my organization and things and the other student medias will talk about their things. So if you're a PC student looking to get some content and get paid for it, come out to this interest meeting this Thursday, September 2nd at Neville Auditorium. I'll probably get this video up by Wednesday, but I'm also planning on doing another video talking more about what WPCX is and what we do. You'll probably see some videos coming out pretty soon. And really on that note, that's really been going on. And like I said, I'm wearing a face mask because I'm in Neville, which is kind of like the heart center of PC's campus, the heart and center of PC's campus. And right now, I think we're at 62% vaccination rate, which is pretty high. We're trying to get 70%, so you guys can see my beautiful face doing this video. But really temporary. I'm hoping to get back into the studio sometime next week. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted, and hopefully, we'll be back in the studio pretty. And one of the things I'm trying to do with that, not go back to the studio right away, is because I want to get everything settled. There's some things in the media services department, they want to get everything, in the right situation. There's some students that have to adjust, so it takes time a little bit, but hopefully I'll get back doing what I love to do in the studio, Robert. And I'll probably have to team up, because the one thing I'm doing with this YouTube channel is we're trying to have a temporary home for our podcast. Hopefully once WPCX gets more popular on campus, we can create like a Spotify or Google podcast. We can have our podcast that we make visible for you guys so you guys can listen to it. And it is visible on YouTube. It's just that, sometimes with YouTube, you don't want to have a video on for 30 minutes and then, stare at a screen or whatever, which is why I got this camera, so you guys don't just stare at the title screen or black screen or anything like that. But really, that's enough of the pre-game talk, but let's just talk about PC football. So, I know the last time I was talking a little bit about PC Football Fan Day, which I attended Saturday, August 21st at Bailey Stadium. It's just kind of like an open. Have you ever been to like NFL, like a fan practice, or like at one of their training camps where they have like a scrimmage, just kind of something similar like this? And I have an article written on LawrenceCountySports.com talking about more PC Football Fan Day. So I highly recommend if you want to get a more in-depth look about PC Football Fan Day. It is on LawrenceCountySports.com, and I was really impressed by it. I thought it was a really good turnout. There was a lot of fans that were really passionate about it. I thought the players played really, really well. Blue team won, by the way, 42-7 over the white team. It was kind of like the blue team kind of consisted mostly of the offensive players, but the white team kind of had a lot of defensive players. Now, it is true, some quarterbacks sometimes, they did have offensive drives on both teams, but it was mostly blue team was the offense, white team was defense. And now, kind of my thoughts about PC Football Fan Day. I was kind of impressed. I was really impressed by the offense, to be honest with you, because when I looked at this PC football team coming in this season, I mean, you lost Keith Pearson, your top playmaker, he's gone. Jerry Cedar is also gone. So you really kind of had some holes in the offense. Now, you did return your quarterback Tyler Huff, who I thought played really well last year. You also got a transfer from Michigan, Ken Heffley, who's coming from a big football program in the Big Ten. So, but really, and the other thing as well, because you had question marks with the offensive line, which I personally thought was kind of like the weakness of PC's offense last year, was that the offensive line at times couldn't pass protect, and they couldn't allow holes for their running backs to go through. Now, watching it, kind of watching the offense on the blue team, I was kind of really, really impressed. I thought Tyler Huff made some really good throws. Frank Heffley, the Michigan transfer, he had a really nice touchdown pass down the sideline. But other than that, one particular play that really stood out to me was Develcio Powell, which I assume is going to be their PC starting running back. Plays running back for the Blue Hills, and I was really, really impressed by him. I thought he had some really, really nice catches, kind of in the string that went for some big yards. He also had some good rushing plays as well. And I was really, really impressed by him, and I think, he's going to be, it really, when you lose a player like Jerry Cedar, a lot of, it kind of hurts, because it's kind of a guy that knows that can, carry the load of the offense, can get like 20 carries a game for like, at least 100 yards, and when you have a guy like Develcio Powell, who got some really good plays, at the running back position, that's a guy that, I think can really step up and can really help PC's offense, can take pressure off the quarterback, whether it's going to be Tyler Huff or it's going to be Ken Heffley. I think that's something that can really help this PC's offense. And switching over kind of to the defensive side, look, the white team allowed 42 points, but I do think, I'll say this about the white team, one of the things that kind of struggled about PC's defense last year was kind of similar to the offense, a little bit of the offensive line was defensive line. And basically the line of scrimmage I thought was PC's weakness last year. And I think, watching this scrimmage on Saturday, I thought, PC's white team really stepped up the game, especially the front seven, because even though you lose a guy, Kobe Campbell, who's at Duke as a graduate transfer, I thought he had some really good guys on the defensive line that really step up. They got some sacks on the quarterback. They were able to, have some negative yards. They were able to get some hits, some pass deflections, and kind of similar to the linebackers, trying to get some really good tackles out. They did allow some big plays in there, but, that's the thing with Kevin Kelly. He's a guy that, is going to attack downfield. He's going to have some trick plays, and it's going to happen to some defense sometimes, and even the Royal coaches one. But, I mean, for the majority of the game, I think, there's a lot of good takeaways from the white team defense. Now, I will say the secondary did get flagged a lot, which, I think when you're at a game, playing against a really good, team that, for example, we saw this coming Saturday, playing a team in St. Andrews that's really known for scoring points, you got to clean the flags because, you don't want to be in a position where you're going to have a third down or fourth down. You allow a big pass interference penalty, and it kind of hurts you because instead of getting your defense off the field, you got to go out and sometimes, it's kind of like the mentality aspect, and you may not be able to stop them again. And consider this kind of Kevin Kelly's program now, which, you're never going to punt, you're going to go for 2-point conversions, and you're going to go for onside kicks. Your defense is going to have to step up. Now, I did see a lot of really good things from the PC defense, and I'll say this, kind of similar to the offense, I saw Jared Mackey, the senior Cornelius, North Carolina, who's playing linebacker, filling in for Kobe Campbell. I thought he did a really good job. And really, for those two, Devasio Powell and Jared Mackey, I think that should give some PC fans some hope because, even though you do lose, Jeter and then Campbell, you have two really good guys that I feel can really step up and can basically be really good players for this team this season. I think if those guys can play really well and the whole team can kind of surround and play better as a result, I think it's going to be, a positive influence for the team, and I think this is a team that can have potential to play really well, even though they have a new coach and new coordinators, new system, and things like that. Kind of another thing, kind of going back to the offense, I was really impressed with the receivers as well. I thought, there were some really good catches. I know there was one in particular that I think was a screen pass that went like 70 yards or something, but really impressed with the receivers overall. And then really, when I was at the end of the game, I got to interview some players and Coach Kelly himself, and I actually got to listen to the huddle a little bit. And talking to Kevin Kelly, I really think, he cares about this program, which I think, PC for a really long time I felt hasn't had that sense. And kind of, talking to Kevin Kelly, kind of listening to what he was talking about the players, it was just all positive, which, I think is really, really beneficial for this program and what is needed for this program. It kind of reminded me, because I'll go on a personal level, when I was in high school, I was a part of a really successful marching band that, we won 3 state championships. We were runner-up my senior year, and then we had a number of competitions called Bands of America, which is kind of like all the best bands in the Southeast, and we won 2 championships. When I think about Kevin Kelly, I kind of think about my band director because, a lot of times for competitions and stuff, he would try to bring more positive vibes into, the band room. He would, say positive things and, trying to encourage us. And, when I was listening to Kevin Kelly, post-game huddle after the band day, it kind of gave me that sense of body, for our marching band days and where we were really successful. And I think that's really important because, I know on the last episode I talked about 3 things that, Kelly got to do more with less, got to bring excitement, and he has to get player, he's got to build a positive culture. And I think, listening to his conversations, from my interview with him, and then listening to Huddle, I really feel like that is something, I feel like he's definitely doing, one of the things that I feel is beneficial for this program to finally take that next level and try to be a respectable program. And I think he's done that. I really think he's done that. And I definitely think he brought a lot of excitement. I think, like I said, you have a lot of national media following this story. You have fans being involved. You have poster signings. You have kids standing in line, bringing to get some PC posters after the game, which I think is really beneficial. Now the key is can he do more with less? That's going to be the main thing that I feel is going to define Kevin Kelly and whether he can win big at PC. Now, kind of moving towards more of the season, kind of like three storylines I'm going to follow is, it's kind of like what I said earlier, it's Ryan Helsley versus Tyler Huff. Like, who's going to be that quarterback one for the Blue Hills offense? Now, Kevin Kelly has been working a lot with the quarterbacks this offseason, and, I think there's a positive, I think there's positive both. I think Ren, I think he has a strong arm that can, really throw the ball downfield, that can make some really big plays. And obviously with college football now, it's kind of more of an air raid attack and trying more emphasis on throwing the football downfield. Tyler Huff, however, I feel, is kind of a more dual threat guy, a guy that can run with his legs, get the first down, can extend throws. And now my personal preference, I personally would go with Huff just because he has starting experience and he has won some games, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brent Hefley won this job because I think both quarterbacks can help PC win some games this season, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see who wins this starting job. I think there's pros and cons with both, and really that's kind of one of the big things I'll be following. And then really second storyline is how Kevin Kelly can the system work. I'll be brief on this because I talked about it a little bit on my show last week, on the last episode, but high school football is in college football. And, these are a lot more athletic guys, these are a lot more short guys, and can the system of going for 2-point conversions, going for onside kicks, and then for punting, can it work? Because, one thing you don't want to do is, you want to try and say the system fails. It's going to throw some guys off, and I think, can the system work for PC, and can they win some games, and can they try to build that relevance and try to get this program back in the right direction? And kind of the third storyline is the line of scrimmage because I thought PC has really good talent on a lot of areas of the teams, on a lot of position groups on the team last year. The only problem was I thought the line of scrimmage, I thought the defensive line couldn't stop the run. They couldn't get up to the quarterback. The offensive line couldn't pass protect. They couldn't build holes for the running back to go through. And, that's what I'm really looking at. Now, I will say for the offensive line, I did feel like they played a whole lot better on PC Fan Day, which, I think is really good. Let's see if they can carry that through the season. And that's really what I'll be watching for. It's just sort of three storylines. Now, heading into this Saturday, PC will play their home opener against the St. Andrews Knights, Saturday, September 4th at Bailey Stadium. St. Andrews went 3-3 last year, but however, a really, really strong offensive team. Ranked number 4th last year in Division 1 in first downs per game. Ranked number 4th in Division 1 in rushing offenses per game with 254 yards. And back to the first downs, they had 25 first downs per game. And they ranked number 8 in Division 1 in total offensive yards per game with 454 approximately. And they got some really good players doing that. Sherbeck Neal is the running back. He returns. Andrew Flower, the quarterback, returns. Kashad Cohen, the leading receiver, returns. Monte Williams, the heart and soul of the defensive linebacker, leader in tackles, he returns. Jalen McFadden from nearby PC in Chester, South Carolina. He also returns defensive side, known for being after the quarterback. Now, even though St. Andrews was around a 500 team, really, really good offensive team as well, score a lot of points. This can be a high-scoring game. And I think the key is which defense can stop the opposing offense because, like I said for St. Andrews, I think they have some really good players on offense. PC, I think there's some strong players on the defensive side, but that line of scrimmage, get out the quarterback. Can they stop the rushing attack? Can the secondary step up? For PC, I like to put Jerome Powell. I think, you got a really quarterback situation, but can the receivers build off their momentum from the fan day, and can the offensive line stand ground? And really, how I see this game going out is, I think St. Andrews is going to put up some points. I do think the defense is kind of in for a long day, but I do think PC wins this game. I'm going to say 38-31 PC over St. Andrews. I think, whoever's such a quarterback, I think it's going to have a big day. I think the running game is going to be huge. I think the receivers will play really well. I think the offensive line will play a lot better than last year. And I think PC makes a critical stop on defense, backward defensive line, and I think PC starts off the Kim Kelly era really good. And considering this is the home opener and this is a new coach with a really unique philosophy with a lot of national media following this game, as well as a lot of students, learning more about this style of football, I think PC is going to win this game. I think it's a tough opponent, but I think PC finds a way, and I think, this excitement, this momentum of Kim and Kelly bring this unique style of football into Clinton, I think is really going to show this Saturday. I think it's really going to help this football program, soccer team. So PC men is 0-1 on the season. They lost to 1-0 to Georgia Southern on the road last week. As I'm recording this video right now, they were playing North Greenville tonight. And then women's soccer is 1-3. Their only win is Alabama State. They have lost to Furman, East Tennessee State, and Jacksonville by an average of 2.3 goals per game. And look, I mean, I think this team, when I look at both rosters for the men and the women's, I think there's some talented, I wouldn't say some, excuse me. When I look at the roster for the men's and women's teams, I think there's some really good players. I think the issue, though, is a lot of these players are pretty young, and when you have young players, sometimes it takes a little bit transitioning from a high school game to a college game, because in the college game, you have a lot of players that are a lot more physical. They make it really tough for you to score goals. It's kind of more of a defensive game. I mean, really, soccer is kind of like a war in a sense, because it's not easy. Compared to like football or basketball, you're not scoring a lot of points. It's kind of more of a defensive game. And really, the thing, if you can win in soccer, is all about can you keep your energy up? Can you make some plays, defensive plays, excuse me? And can you do the best you can for 90 minutes? And I think these teams can play really good for the course of the season, even though men's is 0-1, women's 1-3. But I think if you can improve, if you can stand ground for 90 minutes in a sometimes a grueling sport, I do think you can definitely win in this league. That's the Big South, but now conference now. Women's soccer is playing Georgia on September 9th. Georgia is 5-7 currently, but 5-7 last year, but they are 3-1 this season. And men's is playing South Carolina on the road in a few weeks as well. South Carolina went 8-7-1 last season, but both teams from the SEC, that's probably going to be the toughest game. But really, if you look at the schedule, I mean, if you can try and build off some positive ones, if you can try and get some of these younger players to step up, I do think these teams can have a good season in the Big South Conference. And I said this multiple times throughout sports, if you can build up momentum in the regular season and try to get as many wins as you can, you're going to have some losses sometimes, but if you try to stack up some good wins over good wins, I think this is a team that can certainly win, and they can try and build off, and get and have a successful season. And kind of similar to baseball last season, because baseball kind of struggled in the non-conference portion of the season, but as the Big South Conference season got on, even though they kind of struggled a bit, they built up some wins after wins after wins, and then they were able to win the Big South Conference tournament, and they were able to make their first ever NCAA tournament. And I think that's the same thing with the soccer teams, Yes, it's growing sports, kind of different than baseball, but, if you can have your players step up, specifically the younger ones, if you can try and get more aggressive, try, be in a position to get some penalty kicks, try to, take some balls away from the opposing offense and take some more shots at getting some goalies, and try to take more shots at getting some goals and build some wins after wins. I think these are teams that can certainly be in a position that they can win highly this upcoming season, and they can build on the momentum as the season goes on. So, look, a little bit of a tough start, but I do think there's a positive momentum that both these teams have heading towards the last portion of the non-conference regular season, and as we head into the Big South regular season play. So, that's going to wrap up for this episode of the Mitch Zone here on WPCX 97.1 FM. And just as a friendly reminder, none of the ideas expressed in this show or ideas of the school property alike. Everything discussed in these shows are in line with the Title IX, the Garrett book, and the law, or the ideas expressed today are conceived by the students themselves, and have no affiliation with any anti-government or xenophobic groups. So, this is for the disclaimer. I hope all of you guys enjoyed this video, and I gotta get back to work. So, I started to record this. I'm doing some homework right now, so I'm gonna get back into it a little bit. So, and I'm hoping to have this content up soon. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, this video will come out sometime this week. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure to follow us on our Instagram and Twitter page in the link down below. In the description down below. And hopefully, once everything kind of like settles out a little bit, hopefully I'll be back in the studio sooner rather than later. Put off the camera for the YouTube video. That's kind of like a temporary home, so you got, like I said earlier in the show, you don't have to see our title screen or a black screen. You get to see my face while you're watching this podcast, and really that's all I have. So thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope all of you guys have a good rest of your week, and we will see you next time on the Mitch Zone. Have a good day, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on the Radio FX app by subscribing to Presbyterian College.